Well, welcome, Anna. Hello. Podcast has begun. I didn't do a whole lot of research on you for one reason and one reason only is I wanted to learn about everything with everybody else along the way. What happened was I just started seeing your content and I started seeing what you were doing with the whole telekinesis thing. And it was just like super exciting to watch. And I love the way that you're kind of framing your journey around it. So that's really just like, I kept seeing your stuff pop up and finally I was like, hey, do you want to come be on the podcast? Because I would love to hear more and more about this story. And usually we start with like the whole spiritual journey and where did it go and how did it begin? But if you're okay with it, I'd really like just to dive into the telekinesis and where did that start with you?
Sure.
Actually, sorry, look at me, terrible, right off the bat. Before we get there, right at the bat, like right off the bat, right? Why don't you share with us what you think would be helpful for us to know about you that's going to give us some framework about this topic? Because it's kind of like a big topic.
It is. It is a really big topic. Especially now, it just seems like it's picking up. There's a lot of interest there. So as far as kind of background, 6 years ago, I got into intuitive energy healing work. Certified in a bunch of different things, if you will. So that's kind of, without going into Dark Night of the Soul and the whole unfolding of all the steps that got me to where I am today.
Do you want to go into the Dark Night of the Soul and all of the steps? Because I love going there. A huge part of my journey has been shadow work, so it's massively important. But I want you to feel comfortable sharing what you want to share.
It's the juicy spot. Right? It's the juicy spot.
Yeah, it's the spot where we got to really slow down, I think, because it's the spot that people get stuck in. It's the space where people don't want to address all of that stuff. And it just keeps building and building and building and building. And then it takes your life and just runs it off into the ditch and says, hey, do you want to deal with this now? Or do we want to continue to just spin the wheels out here in the mud, right? You have to address your past. You have to address your shadow. What was the real big one for you? And not necessarily the big shadow, but the big moment in your life where you're like, I got to deal with this shit. I got to do something about this.
Yeah. So I guess since 2012, I had lost a family member every year until I hit, had my kids, went through major life chapter changes, marriage, house, children, all that stuff, everything that is kind of already put out there that this is the path that you follow. And after my second child is kind of when I just realized how much I was giving of myself and I didn't even know what my needs were.
Yeah.
And I was running a mile a minute. So I was working full time. I was working part-time side work, through pregnancies and, all that. And I never took the time to grieve because I was constantly busy. I kept myself busy. And I just found different ways to kind of numb and not address the heaviness because it was almost too much to feel. And so that piece I didn't realize until even after I was just like, oh, I don't know why I just feel like shit every day. I was, you name it. I had fibromyalgia. I was going to physical therapy. I had headaches every day for over, I want to say maybe 6 to 8 months where it was just, I popped ibuprofen. I was like, oh, headache again. That's so weird for like 6 months though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my body was starting to become affected by everything that I had suppressed and not addressed. And I used speed, moving quickly. I used, things like Adderall to kind of like get me through quickly and move quickly and keep up with the rat race. So I never found I always rejected stillness. And so when I kind of hit that moment of like, enough's enough, I I'm tired of waking up feeling like shit every day, is when, and this is also about the same time, they're like, you need to be on depression medication. You need to be on this. You need to be doing that. And I had all these different medical professionals saying all the things that I had, and, you know, and I just was like, no, there's something else here. And so the universe, God, source, consciousness, if you will, whatever you want to call it, guided me to synchronicities that just kept lining up and lining up. And I was like, this is odd. All these repeating numbers and these people that are telling me to go see this person that's then seeing the next person. And all of a sudden I'm having these like amazing mystical experiences, and the pain starts going away, and the things, and I'm starting to like start feeling my body and my emotions again.
What does this look like in the moment? Like you say, you start going to people or seeing people and having mystical experiences. Like, what does that look like? Like so-and-so does Reiki and I'm going to go have a Reiki session, or we're like coming across some fair, some spiritual fair, and I'm going to hop in a booth. Like, what does that look like as you're experiencing all of that?
Oh my gosh. This is so, okay. I guess it was, we did our, my friends and I were doing New Year's resolutions in 2019. And I didn't know what to set for myself, yet everybody was like, take time for you, do something for you, slow down and do what you need to do, like for you. Everybody had written them for me in that way. And I was just like, oh, that's so weird. Like everybody thinks that I need to take time for myself.
You were doing New Year's resolutions for each other. Like, this is what I want for you this new year. Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Because we think sometimes we know what we need and sometimes we don't.
Right.
And then it takes like an outsider perspective to kind of shift your thinking just slightly.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, oh, wow. Like I really don't take care of myself in that way. I don't show up for myself first, and everybody saw it except for me. And it was kind of that like mirror moment. And, so a couple days after that, I was invited to just hop on a plane, go to New Orleans and do a last minute, like 72-hour getaway. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's go have some fun, me and my friend. And we get down there, and everything from the flight number to the gate number to the receipts to the license plates to the house number we stayed at. Yeah. I mean, it was 4, like on repeat. And I just was thinking like, what is this? Like, don't you think this is weird? I kept showing my friend, isn't this so weird? Like everything is 4s. Like, why is this happening? And I had always been a skeptic of mediums, psychics, people in the spiritual realm. I kind of was like, oh, I really think that they can do it. I just don't know how. And maybe they can, maybe they can't. And so I kind of always had that in my mind of like, I'm curious, I'm open, but, skeptical. And so when in New Orleans, you get a tarot card reading.
Hey, it's the best place, right? I mean, if you're going to do it, was it your first tarot reading?
Yes. And
well, you got to do it in New Orleans.
Yeah. I was shaking like a leaf on a tree. I was like this, and she's reading the cards. So Rhonda from Bottom of the Cup, I will always remember Rhonda.
Shout out to Rhonda.
Yeah. Shout out to Rhonda if she still works there. And so she's like, first of all, Spirit tells me you need to chill the fuck out. Go get yourself a hurricane and a Reiki session. And I was like, Reiki? What is that? What is Reiki? Had no idea. And so we finished that trip. And that was like the first time that I was like, oh, somebody's looking at things for me that maybe this rings true. Maybe this feels right. But I never lost the idea of, she said Reiki session. And I just was like, what is that? What is that thing? And I get home from that trip, still 444s, everything. You name it, following me everywhere. And I'm like, this is so strange. Like, what
Was
is
that kind of
happening
the first time in your life where you saw those kind of synchronistic things in a cognitive way, at
No,
least?
yes and no. So, since I was in high school, I had always seen 9/11 everywhere. And I always thought that those numbers were just a sign maybe from God that I needed to pray for people that went through that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time I saw it, I just was like, pray for the families, watch over everybody that's been affected by this. And I kind of dropped into this like intentional place without knowing it. Like,
Okay.
I didn't even know what I was doing, but I just felt called to kind of give love in those moments that I saw it. So those things followed me over the years, specifically that number. And then it was 444 that was just like on repeat, and I just couldn't understand why it was everywhere. Like anywhere I looked, any opportunity, it was just there. So that kind of threw me for a loop, and that continued. And then right around that time, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the same week I found out that she had cancer was the same week that I found out that there was a shop down the street from me that just opened up and offered Reiki.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, what are the odds? What are the odds? So I'm like, okay, I gotta go check this out. And so I got my first Reiki session, and mind awake, body asleep, sleep paralysis, if you will, or whatever happens when the body just like passes out.
Yeah.
I was totally awake. She was playing sound bowls, and I was seeing the frequencies of the sound bowls as colors. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how does this happen? What's happeing?
Had you ever had an energetic experience like that, or that was your first one?
No, that was my very first, like,
yeah.
I mean, outside of that, I was like, Teresa Caputo, like, she's great.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I had no idea. And
how long ago is all of this, Anna? Like, when did this time period? Was this 10 years ago? When was this?
This was 2019.
Okay.
So, yeah, 6 years ago. And 5.5, 6 years ago. So, so I had that experience of seeing sound dancing together as color, and then it would change, and every tone or bowl that she played, it would change color. And then when I described what I was seeing, she was like, oh, that's the root, or that's sacral center. I'm like, what are these things? So like naive and just, you know, a whole
it's just
new
stuff
world.
You don't know, right? It's brand.
Yes.
I remember when it started, like that time period for me when I was experiencing all of those things, as well as like having all of those first moments of like, what are we talking about? Chakras. Tell me more about this Reiki. That was 2011, 2012 for me. And it was so much just like, oh my gosh. And the deeper it went, because it's just this beautiful rabbit hole that you just keep unfolding into, the more I'm like, this reminds me so much of when I was a kid. So like seeing colors for the first time, when you're seeing the energy move in that session and you're having that experience, and then since then, have you had any connection and correlation to some experiences that you've had over the course of your life, whether that be in childhood, or a lot of times I had things that happened when I was a teenager, because I think there's a lot of big, massive energy around us during that transition time period as a teenager, right? Where we're moving and transiting a ton of energy. So can you look back now, kind of having some reflection on what these things are, and see any of those moments in your life?
Yes, I relate to that. That resonates so much. And I didn't even realize it until you're kind of in it, and then you're like, wait a second. I did have this experience when I was younger. And for me, it was chalked up to having night terrors or really significant dreams, while also being awake and having experiences at night with spirit.
Okay.
And they were terrifying to me because I didn't understand them. And they were scary because I didn't have the tools or the knowledge or anyone that could support me through understanding what was happening. And it took a meditation to kind of get clarity around the experiences that I was having as a kid, which were very much real. So, for instance, I would lay down to go to bed, be in between kind of sleep and wake. And as I was falling asleep, could feel something in my room, but I'd look and there's nothing there. So I used to like hide under my covers and hold my breath and just like put my head to the side and pretend like you couldn't see me.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they can't tell that I'm here if
100%,
I stop breathing.
right?
Like
Hold
all
still,
the things.
don't move.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go away. And then it just gets closer. And then you're like, it's not going away. Why is it getting closer now? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the worst.
Yeah. And it was so scary, but I understand it now from a different lens, which is really helpful, because kind of coming into the spiritual world of things and energy work and all that other stuff, I had to break down so many beliefs and fears around spirit and understanding it from a very unconditionally loving way, and just getting a new lens of it.
Did you have much, like, for me, I had, when I say I didn't have a lot of religious stuff to unpack, I mean, the truth of it is I had a ton of religious. I didn't grow up religious, even though it was still a massive part of my life because of the culture and the community that I grew up in. I grew up in Utah, so I grew up in a very small LDS town. It was very, very, a huge part of my upbringing in my life because of the community. So all of the dogma and the indoctrination and all of that programming around religion and the experiences and the connection and everything like that, I definitely had to go through a period in my life where I had to unpack what those things were from that lens and perspective versus what I was experiencing now and kind of how I related to it now. Did you have much when it came to religion and trying to, because you said that there were some things that you had to kind of, if I'm correct, reframe or kind of like look at from a different perspective now based upon how you used to experience it. Can you remember what one of those were that maybe you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really the fear of the unknown. When it comes to the religious aspect, just to give you kind of quick backstory, I was raised Methodist, went to Catholic school, got Mass during the week, got Methodist church on the weekends, very big connection to Native American culture, invited to synagogue. So I kind of have, I feel like I chose amazing parents to kind of expand my understanding of different religious things, even to our symbiotic relationship with nature through Native American culture. So I've been fortunate enough that I've been exposed to a lot when I was little. And there was never a aggressive push from my parents to be religious other than show up, go and do the thing. And like, you make a decision when you're, you know, you go through confirmations and things like that. But like after that, it's okay to believe what you want to believe. So I'm fortunate enough that there wasn't a lot of like, shove this down your throat type of thing.
Yeah.
So that the religious aspect didn't necessarily affect me so much on my path and shadow work. There were still some things there though, collectively, culturally, that needed to be unpacked, especially with feminine and masculine aspects of things. Yeah, so my experiences as a kid that I had were more so not understanding the unknown and just having a bit of fear of that unknown, darker place, shadowy place. And then teen years, oh my gosh, that was just awful. It's just like, you know, all the things. And I just remember I used to pray to God a lot, even though I wouldn't say I was really religious. But I would have conversations all the time and just like beg for things and just kind of like in that world as a teen quietly, when I would go to bed. And
where do you think that came from? Was that something that, because essentially that's, I mean, you're quietly praying to God before you go to bed, even though it's not necessarily framed like that in your mindset per se. Where did that come from? Was that something, do you feel like you just, because I think about that sometimes, I wonder if we have such deeply ingrained programming from Christianity and from this culture where it's like in moments of, struggle and strife, you reach out and you ask God for help, even if you don't necessarily believe in God. I know for me, I've had moments, and not just when I was a teenager, but like, especially in some of those incredibly dark moments that you find yourself in life, right? I think we all have those, and they're all on varying degrees based upon our life experiences. But I have found myself in just some really, really dark holes. And I'm like, I have no idea how in the hell I got here. I don't know what is going on, and I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And it's like that breaking moment where you're just like, I need help. If I'm going to get out of this, I need help. And in my mind and in my heart and whoever else, like, the only thing that I think may have even the slightest chance to help me is whatever God is, whatever that thing is, please, something outside of myself. And I think that's such an important moment for everybody to get to. I just wish it didn't have to come through that lens of struggle and strife so much. And I really don't think it does, but that's a tangent. But go on.
No, I totally feel you on that. Yeah.
When was help me understand, because all of this stuff starts happening for you. You go through the Reiki session, you start having these experiences. How do we go from that to I'm on TikTok now practicing telekinesis?
Yeah. So, get into the energy world, have my experiences. I very analytical brain at the time to just understand, problem solve. Help me understand from a quantum physics lens, a neuroscience, whatever. Like, send me into all of the things that I can rack my brain around.
So you're trying to understand spirituality from that scientific side of things.
Yes. So bridging, I kind of fell in between this like dance between science and spirituality.
Right.
And I would still say that I'm there. I think sometimes the science aspects helps me feel grounded from floating off too far into this like beautiful, ethereal, spiritual experience that we can have, while also being able to ground that in and say, like, how do I apply these things and not just float off and escape? Because that is very much a thing as well, or spiritually bypass things. So anyway, all of that to bring me to practicing energy work. Started feeling energy between my hands early on, even before I learned Reiki. I was like, I wonder, people talk about this. I wonder if I could feel it if I just sat there for a second. And so meditation and just playing with my own energy was like the first thing. I just became a child and was like, oh, I could feel like an energy ball. What would it feel like? And just started on that self-discovery through play. And so fast forward to this summer.
Hold on, Anna. That's a huge jump. I want to go back to I love it where it's like yada, 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 yada. Anyways, fast forward to yesterday when all of these amazing things started happening for me. No, I want to go back to the spot where you're a kid, like mine there, is just getting curious about playing with energy and just kind of experimenting around with what it would feel like and coming at it from that lens and from that perspective, I think is so incredibly important. I talk about all the time where it's like, I'm always trying to just move through my life that way, where if I can see things through, first and foremost through that lens, I find that it puts me, like it sets me up to succeed in life rather than feel like I'm always failing. But what does that look like or feel like for you in the beginning when you're just kind of starting to experiment and play around with it? Talk me through that a little bit.
Cool. Okay. So even if people are watching now, you can do this. So for me, it was, now most people, you'll watch them rub their hands together before they do energy healing work. I don't really do that. I think it takes away from what I can actually sense outside of my physical being. So I just kept thinking like, okay, if I could feel what energy feels like, what does that feel like? And some people feel it as heat, pressure, tingling sensation. For me, I feel it as if my hand fell asleep and it starts buzzing. And it just feels like that tickling, tingling. Sometimes it gets more intense. Sometimes it feels more soft. And then I kind of was like, oh, I wonder what that feels like. And so I'd bring my hands together and I'd pull them away from each other. and pretend like I could see energetic strings between my fingers. And I just started playing with different visuals and feeling my body again. Like a lot of this, being a very mental, airy person, dropping back into my body and what is my body actually telling me? I had to reconnect with myself in that way. And it was a great practice to do that, to just drop back into my body and remind myself, number one, it was safe to be in my body again. But so I just like go back and forth. And then it started feeling like two magnets that wouldn't necessarily want to completely touch.
Okay.
The slower that I went.
And you're talking about your hands now are feeling that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I bring them out and back together again, sometimes it almost feels like they want to just like slightly miss each other. And if you just kind of play in that space, especially with the palm, you can start feeling energy there. And like I said, it's different for everybody. I feel like we kind of pick up these gifts and return to understanding what we're capable of by play, and experimentation and all that fun stuff. So then once I started feeling it on myself, I was like, oh, I wonder if I could feel it on other people. And then I was like, okay, I'll move, I'll start with myself and kind of move up my arm. And I get to a spot and I'm like, oh, that feels different than this spot. And then just noticing those subtle differences of energy change. And then from there, it was, when my mom was going through radiation treatment, I could feel like really how far off the body post-treatment radiation would like actually affect the body, how big it was, what space that took up. And I think that was a big part of my learning process too. I never did hands-on. I was always like off her body and I could feel where she would, receive treatment. And so I just found it interesting. It just felt as if you stuck your finger in an electrical socket and it just amplified static signal, is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
So just to describe it. But yeah, so just playing around, feeling things.
Where did you first kind of pick up on this? Like, where did this first come into your space?
Feeling energy.
Not just feeling it, because I'm assuming we're getting to the point where you're talking about working with these energies and now we're going to start manipulating other things with it. Like, where did this come on the scene for you?
So
like, did somebody
Go ahead. Sorry. It was early on. The energy piece. Reiki was the first thing because I wanted to understand, well, how come in my first Reiki session I was seeing colors? Why was I crying, but I wasn't thinking of anything, but my eyes were watering. And they were just like, I could tell that I was crying, but I wasn't crying. I wasn't trying to cry, or I wasn't thinking about anything, but tears were coming out of my face. Yeah. And she would move around my body and I could feel where she was on my body. And I'm like, how does this happen? So that got me into, well, I wonder if she can feel energy, maybe I can. And then I played with it and that got me into, well, I'll go learn from somebody. Somebody can teach me, what I'm actually doing because I don't know what I'm doing. So
you just start playing after that first Reiki session, kind of getting curious about it. Oh, that's so freaking cool. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, wait, if somebody can do it, then I guess I could, right?
Exactly.
Maybe. And then you just kind of play with it. And I'm an experimenter. I love to learn through hands-on trial and error, play, experimenting. That's how I figure it out. So learning all of that, feeling it, and I just realized like, wow, I can tell the difference between something that feels normal and not normal, or soft and more intense. And then you'd come to find out, oh, that person, they had an injury or surgery at that place. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that makes sense as to why it felt off. It felt different. And that kind of opened up. Once I started feeling and getting in my body again, that's when everything kind of opened up with visuals and connecting in an intuitive way, kind of seeing things or hearing things, and just kind of clairs coming on. And
I have a question for you real quick.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
As all of this stuff is coming online and you're kind of experiencing it over the course of how many, I mean, is this months or years that you're talking about as all of these things are kind of happening?
I would say much of 2019 into the beginning of 2020 is all of it just like flooded in. And I just allowed myself to go there completely and just be like, what is happening? What is happening? We're going to ride this, whatever this is.
Right. We're getting on this crazy train no matter where it's going.
Yes. So 2019 was literally my whole life flipped upside down.
That's what I was going to ask, is how much of this journey and experiencing, especially where everything starts kind of coming online and you start really opening up to it, is countered by shadow, is countered by things happening in your everyday normal physical reality life? What's going on in that time period? Sounds like everything's kind of falling apart.
Yeah. So I'm like, who am I? What's happening? This like everything that I thought to be true is no longer true in my reality, yet nobody can really see that this is, you know, like they're not really picking up what I'm putting down. And I wanted to scream it from the rooftops, like, guys, there is so much more that we just don't know about. And I became that girl. That was like,
I think that's so funny. I think that's such a normal part of it. I went through that same I feel like I'm still in some sense on that part where it's like, have you guys heard about energy? I just want you to know that there's this thing out there that we're all connected to. It's amazing and incredible. And as soon as you open up to receive it, it's going to change your life. Let me tell you about it. Can I come in? Right. I feel like I'm this missionary walking around trying to be like, just open up to love. It's going to change your life. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that was probably the tipping point to shadow work. Was realizing, wow, not everybody is ready for that. And not everybody understands you. And having to dive into being okay, not being understood. And that it's okay to not share everything. And be able to read people for where they are, and then it start like the journey was just kind of shadows would pop up, and then it'd be like, and then it was just like, oh, there's actual patterns here. And I would say that 2020 was when I started doing more intensive shadow work with applied kinesiology. So I learned emotion code and body code work with Dr. Bradley Nelson's stuff. And if for anybody that doesn't know what emotion code is, it's basically working with trapped emotions in the body. You find them through working with the subconscious mind and muscle testing yourself. So if you have hidden programs, it kind of opens things up, exposes things that might be hidden or that you might not be ready to face within the shadow. So that was kind of getting me into, like I have some stuff still here. Like, this is triggering. Why is this triggering me? And then I'd be like, okay, where is this rooted? And I would start muscle testing my body and just trying to get, because at the time, I would always say like, my memory's awful. Like, it was just programmed. Like, I just don't have it. Like, I can't remember things.
Yeah.
But that was just the story I was telling myself in order to protect myself from all the vulnerability, the pain, the suffering, and everything that I was holding on to in the shadow over here. And so the muscle testing was like an easy way into the shadowy shit.
Emotion code's amazing. I think it's such a great way to access the subconscious and get in there and just quite literally shift and change those things that we don't want to deal with and look at. I think it's a huge thing. I'm a huge proponent of it. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I loved it. That I started going live on TikTok back in 2020 when I got certified in it and trained in it. And I would just do free sessions for people because I was like, we all have stuff. We all have stuff that we're just not looking at. And it was just a way to kind of open people just slightly to be like, okay, like, tell me what happened at 13 years old. You know, we got some stuff here. That's a specific age. So it was nice to work on other people while also I was doing all the work quietly, just like, okay, what is this? Rip this out, deprogram, like, get it out. I don't want it. I just kept shedding. And I would say the past, 2019 was the exposure year of like, ooh, I want to understand this. And it's like all fun and light and like your high vibes. And then it was like 2020, we're just going to hit you with the shadow work.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. I feel like that's the spiritual journey. They show you everything up front and they're like, this is what it's worth. This is amazing. This is where you're headed. It's going to be so worth it. Trust us. And then they drop you back in your body and they're like, we'll see you in a couple of years, son of a bitch.
Good luck.
You just got to go through this journey of getting back to that spot. It's so tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I see so many people that are in that like floaty phase. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I remember that phase. It was so good.
It is. It's so nice. It feels so amazing when everything's love and light.
And you're like, wait for the next ball to drop. So I've learned to I just love shadow work. I am now so, I guess, sensitive to the patterns that because you do enough of shadow work that you're like, ooh, pattern, ooh, trigger. I'm seeing this happen over and over again. Why am I allowing this? Or why, you know, and
I feel like your shadow is what takes you into your light. I mean, it's like without it, you don't ever get to your light. You have to go through it. It's the thing that like quite literally takes you into the light. Here you go. This is where everything is. You got to go through the shadow to get there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the more you dive in, the more that life opens up in the most miraculous ways. So I like to go deep. Real fast. But yeah, I guess all of that shadowy stuff kind of happened along the way. And then I would just notice and then just address it. I just kept notice, dive into it. And every time something would come up, and it was almost like the spiritual journey to me is kind of like this upward spiral, right? Of the experiences. We come back to a similar experience and we're like, oh, new lens. Okay. We get a little bit like wider and higher up. And then we're like, oh, interesting. Even like a different lens. It's not hurting as bad, or it's, you know, like the perspective just shifts. And, so it just opens you up so much. And I think that also helps with getting into any type of psi abilities or working with consciousness at a whole nother level. And so through all the shadow work was also practicing on other people, doing it as work, you know, Reiki, emotion code work, getting certified in a lot of other things, getting into sound a lot because of how that was affecting my body and my connection to tones and frequencies and things like that, which I understand now, but you know, as a kid, you're like, why am I crying while I'm watching like river dance? Like, why am I crying through an hour-long show of Riverdance at the age of 13? Like, oh my God. But then you realize, oh wow, like that was hitting a part of my soul that at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But I was like feeling it. I felt everything. It was like what it is to be alive and human is to like feel these things. And what a gift. What a gift. And so now, you know, with all of that kind of took me on this roller coaster of different things and playing in different aspects of spirituality in many different ways. And which kind of like pulls me into 2025. I decided, I was like, this is the year of self-mastery. I'm just going to I'm just going to low key, I want to master my gifts.
This is the year. Self-mastery. I'm going to get it done in 2025.
Out of all the years. So I'm like, I want to know what is the capacity of my gifts? Like, is there a cap? Is there and I don't think there is. I think we're just scratching the surface collectively, in what we understand or don't understand between science and spirituality, and what human potential actually looks like. And I think it's only going to get way more intense and amazing, and I'm here for it.
I am too. I'm way excited about it.
So this is the year that you start really diving in and wanting to master everything. Again, like, how are we on TikTok filming videos of us moving tinfoil around?
So I all synchronicities. I could give you a whole list of everything that wound me up to this place of 2025 when I set one intention, which the universe was like, here you go.
Right.
Here you go. So I learned remote viewing, was like, I want to try something different. Did remote viewing because it kind of pulls from that, like, okay, research, sciencey perspective of it, while also, okay, I like tune into people all the time. Like, sure, I'll tune into something I know nothing about. So that wound me up with an invitation to come experience the Psy Games 2025. Very first Psy Games International in Virginia. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. People are going to compete in remote viewing, telepathy. Was that me or you?
No, it's me.
Okay. But just competing in psi abilities, including psychokinesis, umbrellaed under that telekinesis, however you want to. I think we're still trying to understand and how to define
trying to come up
something.
with the right words for all of these different things, and the words that we used to use, some of them still kind of fit, some of them don't fit as we learn more about these things.
Yeah. And
so you go to the Psy Games. I didn't even know that it, like, I remember seeing some of that stuff pop up, but I didn't realize that it was this year. I didn't realize that it was in Virginia. That pisses me off. I could have gone.
Listen,
how cool is that? Was it awesome? Like, tell me about it.
Lou, you're coming with me next year. We're going to meet up and we're going to hang out and we're going to have great chats.
Right. I think we need to plan
podcast.
a whole event around frickin' Psy Games. That would be amazing.
Yes. Yes. So, and on top of that, it's not just competing, but it's also workshops and kind of like a conference setup. So networking, and just, I walked into that place and was like, I'm home.
Yeah.
I felt so at home, and it felt so safe to be 100% yourself and talking about your experiences. And there was no judgment, and it was just held in love. And I think that there's slight fear that I've noticed in that realm of things, when it comes to, when you start stepping into your abilities and all this other stuff, there tends to be an undertone of fear or needing protection, or what's the way I want to describe it? But I feel like you know what I mean.
Are you talking about, like, say more, because I want to make sure that I'm on the same page as you. Like, there's this dynamic where people start working with energy, and then they get concerned about protecting themselves from other people's energy, or just like bad energy. Like, is that what you're talking about? Is kind of setting boundaries and protecting your space when you start tapping in and working energetically with things?
Yes. And while also government stuff, like people get into like, oh, they're going to put you all in one place, And I'm like, oh my God, this is like, you can feel the slight undertone of that. And I think that people will show up with where their belief systems are. And it just, that's how we operate. And I was just like, I'm with my people. I am so here. I am going to make all the friends and I'm going to have a great time. And I did. I had the best experience, and it was like the overarching theme was, let's continue to expand human potential and show people that this is possible in a controlled setting that makes it more legitimate, if you will, for people to understand that might not be there yet. And so that's what I loved about it. And while also, you know, learning different things and listening to different workshops. And Dahlia was there with her daughter, Lilu, who's on the telepathy tapes, and they're doing research on them with their telepathic communication. And she also does Mindsight. And so competition in Mindsight and being blindfolded and organizing colors and being able to read without looking, blindfolded. So amazing human abilities. And then I'm watching the competition in remote viewing, and then
what's the competition in remote viewing look like? How are they setting that up in a competitive way at the event?
So everybody gets a booth that they sit in.
Okay.
And within your booth is your information and place to type up notes and what you're picking up on your target. Every competitor, is given a different target number. All AI generated. So not even judges or those that were organizing the competition knew anything about what AI was going to generate for them, which actually I think made it way harder than having a man-made or time and space thing, target.
Yeah.
So, I played along, and I'm like not looking and, writing down the same exact things that the person's writing down. And it was amazing. It was amazing because you could play along while also they would compete for, who got the most accurate descriptors. And so there were AI judges while also having, I think, 3 or 4 human judges that would assess in a different way than AI probably would, based off of analytical data points.
Okay.
So it kept it as legitimate as possible from that perspective. And so then everybody would they'd bring up the image, and then you'd look and see, and you get to assess, like, wow, they really picked up on these like sharp points, and the way that this kind of resembles flowers, even though it's not a flower, but it looks like a flower kind of thing. And, or tree bark that had, stuff on it or whatever. And every image was completely different than the next. And, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then they did, the psychokinesis, competition with the Egely Wheel, which is another thing that I use when I practice. It's just this little guy.
What's it called again?
An Egely Wheel. It was designed to measure life force energy or energy output. So it looks like this. And it will actually, when it spins, it will beep and then increase beeping when it starts spinning. And then it just kind of tells you where your output currently is. But what they did for that competition was every competitor had an Egely Wheel. And when you would place your hands around it, and then the judges would give you a direction to spin it.
Okay.
And you'd have X amount of time. I mean, talk about like people cheering when you're supposed to be in a meditative state.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. I was like, how are people doing this? This is so cool. And then they get it to spin faster, and people would be like, yeah. And you're like, oh my God. Like, I would be like, everybody stop. Like, give me the headphones. I'm trying to like vibe with this right now and like lock in. And it was just amazing. And then they'd say, switch directions, and then you had judges that would be like, how quickly did they switch the direction of the spin, in order to say, okay, they clearly have more control over their connection to an object, from a psychokinesis, telekinesis standpoint. So you're not touching the thing. You're creating a little bit of a distance, but you're using your hands as the guide. So yeah, I watched that and I was like, did that thing again. I did the Anna thing and I was like, I wonder if I can do that.
It's such a kid thing, Anna. I freaking love it. I mean, the whole time that you've been talking about this event, and not even the event, but like just the way that you have been exploring all of these different things with this perspective of just like, I bet I could do that. I think that's what kids are like. We're just these sponges that see somebody and we're like, oh, I can do that. And then we just try to do the thing that we just saw. And then we replicate that experience, right? And I think it's an amazing way to approach it. And I love that you're just like, I bet I can go home and start moving shit. I'm pretty sure I can do this.
I mean, that's literally what it came down to. And I guess because I had removed enough beliefs and really all this programming and just I just show up now with an open heart, an open mind, and, as little belief systems as I possibly can, because you think you know the answers, but sometimes you don't.
Right. As soon as you figure it out, it's like, do you though?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of like, if we're going to give some people some advice or some ways to start, like what is your go-to, hey, this is the things that you'll need, and this is the way to kind of just slowly step into the space of getting curious? I think first and foremost, number one, we should just like be a kid, come at it from that perspective, right? Let's play rather than get all worked up about what's happening.
Yep. I literally just started what I call as the intuitive playground, is just to show up as a kid with a open mind, open heart, and just room to play and explore. And so getting started, I literally just started with a small piece of aluminum foil. And I started, okay, so here are some awesome tips that I figured out from the runner-up, Aaron. Shout out to Aaron at the Psy Games. I reached out to him because I was like, I want to try this. I just want to see. And I was starting with tin foil on a toothpick shoved into a sand block. And I was like,
okay,
this is not working and it's really hard. And he was like, okay, first of all, like your beliefs aren't there yet that you know that you can spin this. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fair. And he was like, and you're creating the most amount of friction. So you got to start baby steps.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. Got it. So the least amount of friction is always the first thing, other than playful mind. Open, playful mind, anything is possible. The whole point of this practice for me is deprogramming, honestly. Everybody's always like, oh, what does this get you? And I'm like, what does this get me? I'm in the most meditative state and connection within myself and my consciousness that I am understanding subtle shifts of how our internal state is then reflected outwardly into physical matter. That to me alone is like
reason enough. That's like, huge, Anna, to have that awareness. I love the way that you just described all of that. Like, I feel like that's reason enough right there why we should all be practicing this.
Yeah, I truly believe it, because any practice where you're really tuning into those and fine tuning, oh, well, when I feel gratitude, what happens when I feel gratitude? How does that impact the way that my energy moves? When I feel bliss, if I can pull up Kundalini type of energy and full body bliss, the Egely Wheel spins the fastest that I've seen it spin.
Wow.
But you really got to go there with your energy and allow for that. And that, like, for me, it's like, oh, if I can't get it up to, I think it maxes out at, 400%, in the green. I'm like, I'm going to get that puppy up there. Just, I know that I can do it, but it's a great practice in just understanding your inner world and the reflection. And so starting with something simple, the least amount of friction. So I use a sewing needle shoved into a candle, and I always start with opening my heart and connecting with, and people say, well, it's an inanimate object, like it's a piece of foil. I'm like, well, I'm sending love to it and it seems to respond. So is it conscious or not? It's fascinating to me how anything can respond to you if you hold pure love, like unconditional love, and you can drop into that space and be aware of it, and notice when it subtly gets distracted and it's not in that space, and how quickly can you come back into holding that frequency or that energy, or that intent from the foundation. So when I fold the foil, another tip that will be helpful for people that want to get started is I fold it into fours, like, fold it in half again, open it up, and then I pinch the center so it's not as tight of a point when you're first starting.
Okay.
So just having just a slight little pinch here prevents from this tight point, which creates more friction. This I can spin. It took me a little while to get to this, but I can spin it now. And then I start increasing the weight. And then, this is a heavy cardstock that I can spin slightly, but I can't get a consistent spin for a long period of time. And that's just me focusing on moving through another belief system. Same thing with when I would put it under glass. It takes me a while to get to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm thinking that because of the glass that I can't do this.
That's what I wanted to ask you is like, what's the thought process? Because I like that you describe it kind of like slowing down into this deep meditative state. So when I'm meditating, I'm focusing on my breath and I'm staying in that space and I'm watching my thoughts and I'm just being the observer of everything. Are you doing the same thing in a sense where you're just kind of like, are your thoughts playing a role in what you're doing in this moment? Or is it really just staying in that space? Like, how do you counter all of those other thoughts of like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. This is, do you know what I mean? All the negative stuff that might be popping. I don't know if it is. I'm assuming it is. I know that it would be for me.
Oh yeah. Especially with, the amount of people that have commented and said things, and, you get to a point with your abilities that you're just like, wow, oh my God, this is amazing that I can do this. And you're like on cloud nine. And then people come in and start projecting where they are.
Well, there's nothing like the internet just to bring you back down to planet Earth, right? As soon as you start feeling good about yourself, put yourself out online. Yeah. And then that's a huge thing too. Like, I wanted to give you kudos for doing this and putting it out there online, because you very much open up yourself to everybody. And like you said, their projections and where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, I have empathy and understanding for that too. Because I literally at one point in life would have laughed at you in your face if you told me that one day I'd put myself online, spin a piece of oil. Like, it sounds ridiculous when you're not in that headspace, but it really, I'm fortunate enough that I've done so much shadow work that it doesn't impact me like it would have even a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Forget about, 6 years ago. That would have I would have dug a hole and you'd never see me again. And I just, I'm documenting my journey with it, my exploration with it, my play with it, and helping people understand that it's not just about a piece of foil and spinning it. It's so much bigger than that. And if you can see the vastness behind it and where that takes you and how that helps you to understand yourself better, through play and experimentation and seeing what you're actually capable of, that in itself, if I just show people that I'm done, you know, like, and
yeah, that's so freaking huge. Like, I love that you're bringing up all of these things and all of these benefits and the way that it's really shaping and molding and impacting how you're moving through life. It really sounds like it's become this beautiful meditative reflective experience that you're using as a lens to look at where you're at and how you're creating your reality. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because it does take a lot of work to get to that point. It's not like you snap your fingers and you just automatically are this state of being. Obviously,
how long do you usually sit? Like, are you sitting for 10 minutes? Are you sitting there for 2 hours? Like, what does that usually look like for you?
Yeah. So some days it's literally, I literally have a pile of aluminum foil to my left here. You can't see it, but it is a massive pile of aluminum foil, and papers and all sorts of things. I will have it on my countertop and drink my coffee and just put my hand next to it and try to do something while I'm also doing this. So I use it in different ways.
Okay.
In order to say, while I'm multitasking, drinking a coffee, can I stay focused on this other thing over here? And that might be 5 minutes because that's all I have. I have 2 little ones. I still run a business and, have everyday responsibilities like a normal human. I am human. And, I do it when I can. The longest periods of time, I will sit when I can actually make a video is sometimes the max I have is 10 minutes. And then I'll just, put a video together and throw it out. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. And then other times there are days where I just have a slower day and I will just sit there and I'll just relax and I'll just sit back and give it 30 minutes to 45 minutes, leave it, come back, do another 10 minutes. And so I'm doing it every day. Some days it's only 5 minutes. Sometimes I don't want to touch it, but I'll get up and do 5 minutes, or I'll meditate and leave the Egely Wheel next to me just to see. So I just experiment in different ways with it. And that also keeps it interesting for me to keep practicing because then it's playful.
Right. You've got to. I mean, I think anytime I'm trying to introduce something that I want to introduce into my life, if I try to do it in the same way every single day, I'm usually good for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Like if I'm in a really healthy headspace and I got my shit together, but usually it's after like 3 days and I'm like, we've got to do something different. I can't do this same thing again. So I love that you're using all of those different things. Have you gotten to the point where you're like, what are you excited with now that you've started to tap in and use it more and more? Like, where do you see it expanding and growing? And also, do you feel like is it contributing to other aspects of some of these other things that you're experiencing as well?
Yeah. In regards to like different ways to practice.
Not necessarily with the telekinesis part of it, but is this practice? Because this is like, again, I love that we're having this conversation because it sounds like a really deep meditative practice. And I know when you're deeply meditating every day, or even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like when you're in the practice of meditation, it changes you. Like it changes you into a different frequency and vibration, and your nervous system gets regulated much more easily. And all of these things start happening in really beautiful ways that have these rippling effects that sometimes you can't even look and kind of point at until 6 months later. And you're like, oh, wow, that thing's gone away. I don't have that thing anymore that used to bother me all the time or whatever. So what are some of those things that maybe have you started to experience the rippling effect, as well as some of the connection with some of the other, like when you're tapped in and connected to source energy, because you talked about having some experiences at night and when you're asleep and things like that, like, is it opening up some of those expansive places as well?
I would say I've always been a bit of a lucid dreamer.
Okay.
So that's kind of always been there. I would say that in my everyday life, it's helped me with patience with my children.
Another great reason
if we're looking at practical
doctors prescribing this so that you'll have patience with your children.
Just as, you know, like when they are in a heightened emotional state, I would say, even just within the short period of time since literally end of September was when I started practicing. This is so new. Yes, this is so new. Not a lot of people.
Serious?
They're like, can't you move a car already? And I was like, guys, you're asking me to become an NBA basketball player overnight. Like, they had to learn to dribble. Like,
I love it.
Let's think about that for a second.
Okay, the tinfoil's cool and all, but let's do cars now, right?
And I'm like, sure, okay, let's do it. Why not? But I would say that because I'm sitting in stillness, this has invited me to sit more with myself, because I get a tangible outcome, which is exciting, and keeps me intrigued and keeps it playful. But what I would say is my emotional regulation and my patience with external chaos is I'm just so much more aware of it. And I can tell that even when the nervous system wants to go and like constrict and just kind of like tighten up, I can remain soft and it's the best way I can describe it. Stay open-hearted and loving in situations where I understand that there's not emotional regulation with a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and so that has helped. And just for me, it's the deeper sitting with love for an extended period of time in a different meditative way, and what that feels like, not just in my heart, but how does it feel energetically? How does it feel even thought control, like being able to quiet the mind and my racing thoughts that would typically be there. I know when I've sat and practiced, I'm like, I haven't had a thought in a while. That's interesting. Like, wait a second. Wow. Usually that thing is going. And I've been in situations where, like, Dr. Joe Dispenza type of situations where you're there doing it for a week long.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I have no thoughts. Like, I'm just in my body and present, like so present. And it usually takes a really long time to get there to that space. And I find myself more in that space every day because I'm choosing to show up and practice something that is meditative and very inner awareness, awareness and subtle, just understanding subtle, tiny little shifts and sensations and feelings and thoughts. Like, being able to just become aware of all of that is life-changing, honestly. Like, it sounds so silly to say that.
I don't think it sounds silly at all, Anna. I'm so glad that we had this conversation because I'm constantly, like, I'm in a state of very similar in the sense of just play. Like, I'm just getting real curious on, like, let's see how fucking crazy things can get, because I'm excited. Like, I'm just lit up. Yeah. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. So I'm constantly trying to explore the stretches of not just my experiences and my consciousness and what I believe, and, really just push the boundaries of all of that. But then I want to see how I can incorporate it into physical reality and how I'm creating things in all of these different ways. And so listening to you frame it around this perspective of meditation and it becoming a practice of, I can see it so much as just this playful act of sitting down and focusing your energy and channeling your energy in this focused way. And I feel like this is almost like a little hack, like you've just found some sort of hack to incorporate meditation into your life in such a direct and succinct way that you're getting all of the benefits of deep, deep meditation really quickly. Because those benefits that you talked about are huge. Like the ability to regulate your nervous system in moments of activation is exactly why we meditate, because we want to keep our bodies in that calm, regulated state for long periods of time. I'm always talking about water and waves because I'm a Pisces, and I love the way that we can use it as examples. And the way that you can keep the water nice and calm and mellow, as opposed to, it's like having your kids jump in the pool and then keeping the pool calm, as opposed to having your kids jump in the pool and then everybody's freaking out and the waves get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's huge. I mean, that's just huge from the perspective of being able to do that with your kids. But when you think about, there's a world of people that can move through life with calmer, regulated nervous systems and not so quick to jump in and push themselves into those extremes. I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to start practicing this from that perspective of this is going to become my new hyperfixation / meditative experience, where I'm just going to start playing around with it, because secretly I'm going to be doing it for the meditative part. I'm kind of in one of those, like, not ruts, but always peaks and valleys with meditation in me. And I've been in one of those kind of like valley parts where I'm like doing the work because I got to be doing the work. And this has got me all lit up. So I'm glad that we had this conversation. I think it's exciting.
Yes.
What's next for you? Like, what are some of the things that you're excited to explore next, or even more in this space?
So for me, distance, more difficulty, multiple different directions in the psychokinesis aspect. The other pieces behind the scenes, which I still am playing with, which I haven't recorded my practicing with it yet, which is Mindsight, still practicing remote viewing. I just did, just for myself, like 3-Eye Atlas. I was like, you know what? I'm going to tune into this thing and see what I pick up, and, somebody share notes with me, because I would love to know what other people picked up. But
did you pick up some stuff from it?
I did. I think that it was beginning of October when I think it was October 1st when I remote viewed it. And I have a whole section of notes on my phone, and there were some things that I found interesting, especially with the color stuff, and the material of it. I was just getting like metallic type of like things, but then I'd also get random hits of and green aventurine, like the color of green aventurine was coming up, and I shared a video of it. There's other notes that included this long spark tail, just aspects of it that now people are coming out with that I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, because you really don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen some other videos of remote viewers that really sit with it. I mean, they sit for hours with it, an hour at a time for 4 days straight, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to ask it and like, see if I can play around and connect with it. And I just, took my little notes, but, things breaking apart slightly. Football stadium came up. I was like, that's a different one. I haven't seen anybody say anything about that. I have no idea. You really don't know until you know.
A football stadium came up in regards to it?
Yeah. So when you remote view and you write down pings versus like, you can't get into the analytical aspect of it because then you lose
100%,
it.
right?
So, throat, eyes, like congestion came up, eyes, and then for days after I was remote viewing, I just saw eyes every time I closed my eyes. I was seeing eyes, and it was just interesting. It was very interesting. I'm trying to think of other things, but it was cool. And
That's
so
really cool.
Remote viewing, Mindsight stuff. There's different ways to work with psychokinesis. if we want to define it that way, or energy. I've seen people just put pennies on the wall and they stay, paper on the wall. Like, I'm just trying different things. I'm like, let's see if it works. Like, why not? I don't know what I'm fully capable of until you actually try.
Exactly.
And so, for people that have a lot to say but won't try it, I always say, just try it. Just try it. You never know what you're capable of unless you're willing to actually go there and experiment with it. So yeah, just a couple different things here and there, that just playing.
That Egely Wheel, I know Mark wanted there was a question in the chat there. Where's a good, can we just get those on Amazon? Is that something we can just Google and find pretty easily?
You can look them up online. Yep. I don't know if they sell them on Amazon. Okay. I don't know if they're a company out of England, and they teamed up with the Psy Games for the competition part. They have a cheaper version of this. It's not cheap. It's like a $400. Oh, wow. Really? Yeah. It's not cheap. Okay. But it's cool because when you focus on amping up your energy, and really feeling it's so cool because it'll just go beep, 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 and then you're like, yeah, I'm like rock and rolling, So I like the mirror and reflection it gives. Same thing can be done with an at-home Psy wheel. Like, it can do the same exact thing. You're just getting the result of a spin. Or if you use a cup on water, you can use an upside down cup. The first time that I tried it, it spun. I was like, the whole point of this was to go forward, backwards, side to side, and now you're spinning because in my head, I knew how to spin. And so I had to break down a whole nother level of beliefs and understanding of magnetic pull and push, and just getting to know my energy. And some days I'm really magnetic, and other days it wants to send it a different direction or whatever. So play around, find out. That's the best way.
Anna, this has been amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat. I think it's been super fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And as soon as you popped up and I popped into one of your lives, I was like, oh my God, I love your energy so much. You have such an amazing, just aura, essence,
thank
soul.
You. I appreciate that.
So,
is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners? Is there anything that you've got coming up that you want to throw out or promote, or how can we find you?
You can find me at the Wild Aura. That's what I go by. I'm Anna, but my business is the Wild Aura. And then I also, I've been putting together the Intuitive Playground, which is basically a space to come try these things, learn different techniques and practices. Telepathy, like I want to work with and play with telepathy.
Yeah, and I think you need to come hang out with us. We've started doing, because in here I've got my community space that's called the Deep Blue Wave Community. And on Sundays, we do a call that's just for members of that community. And last week was the first time that we started playing around with remote viewing. We're going to do it again this week. And immediately I was just like, well, you should come hang out and show us how to do, like we can do a call where we practice psychokinesis with the tinfoil. And then I've got ideas about what I'm working on for, like, this is my behind the scenes project that I'm secretly trying to, I want to bring together people and cultivate the capacity to create and build, in essence, the equivalent of what they have built with the Heal, in a sense, where we've got the opportunity in this space for people to tap in and connect telepathically when we're not all in the same place. So we have to practice these things that are going to get us into those spaces, and then slowly start to figure out how we go from because I got to the spot where we were in these rooms doing these lives where it was like, and they can attest to it, it's like really, really fun, where it feels like we're having a massive conversation and I'm the only person in the room. I'm sitting here talking to myself all day long. And yet I feel like I'm in these conversations with everybody and I'll ask questions and hear them answer the questions back to me. And they'll answer the question back to me and I'll go to reflect the response to the answer that I just heard in their head. And then immediately I'll see it pop up on the chat. And so it's this really cool thing that's starting to happen, but I know that it's just this magical stuff that I want to keep exploring and getting into. So all of these things I think are really fun to explore and kind of play around in, because it does, again, just put you in that headspace of like, there's so much more. Get curious, see what else is there, because it's not even a matter. Like, I feel like, there's that whole thing where, we use like 10% of our brain capacity or whatever. I'm like, I don't even think the tip of the iceberg. Who knows what the hell's coming next?
Scratching the surface.
Right? I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. I think it's only going to rapidly evolve from here.
I do too.
Yeah. I think it's our next space of human evolution that's just going to pick up in speed, and I'm here for it. I'm like, all right, saddle up, let's go. I'm ready. So
this has been awesome.
I love that you have the space for that, because it's people are looking for safe spaces to practice and be seen and understood too. So I love that.
Well, everybody go follow Anna. Make sure you're following her if you haven't yet. Anna, thank you so much for hanging out and being on the podcast. Everybody, if you missed this or you caught a portion of it, you can always go back and catch full episodes. They're available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and they're ad-free on YouTube. So if you don't want to listen to any of the ads, go please subscribe and follow and listen on YouTube and anywhere else you can find the podcast. And again, Anna, thank you so much. This has been incredible. Such a good time, so much fun, so much useful information. Like, you'll need to come back. Next time you feel like you're tapping into what's next for you and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk about this, what's next, or have some crazy, like all of these things, I think just keep expanding and growing. And so I love that we're sharing these things and talking about them. And again, kudos to you for putting yourself out there and just showing up and sharing it and letting it be something that people can see and gravitate towards, from the perspective of like, hearing your story of like, you're just a normal person. And the fact that that's the other thing that we're going to go on a quick side tangent. Sorry, I thought we were wrapping up the podcast, but the idea that the way that I was going to describe it is like, here's Anna living a normal life, and now suddenly Anna's in this other space. And the whole idea that there's some sort of like normal life that we're living. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all live these crazy, wacky, magical lives. You talk to anybody and immediately you realize, oh, they've had experiences. We've all had experiences. We all pick up the phone and the person that we were just thinking of is there. Like, this is all just a crazy, magical life. So I'm glad that we got to talk about it and share it. And again, thank you so much, Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Blue. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Everybody, we'll see you later. Go follow Anna. Have a good night. Thanks for watching the podcast. And if you haven't yet, please click that notification button up top, as well as subscribe so that you hear every new episode as soon as it comes out. And while you're at it, check out some of these previous episodes right here. Come join the conversation. We record the podcast live every Friday on TikTok. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.